So, hello there. It's been 2 months since I filmed. Buckle in, get a drink, snuggle up with your stitching. We're going to be here for a little while. All I can say is that I'm just a procrastinator and I just haven't been in the mood to film. I'm not even sure I'm 100% in the mood to film today, but we're doing it because it's been way too long. And if I wait any longer to show you guys the stack of stuff, and then there's stuff down here and there's stuff over here, who only knows how long it's going to be. So yeah, I looked and my last video was posted June 22nd. Today is August 18th. I'm not even going to try to do this in any kind of order. I think this was first. How are y'all doing? Y'all doing okay? Everybody good? Let's start off with a finish. I started this right before my last video, and I have since finished it. And the bag has cat hair all over it, because that is my life. This is Teresa Kogut's United We Stand. I apparently don't have the chart in here, but you can go to Teresa Kogut's Etsy shop and download this. This is a beautiful piece. I started it and finished it without putting it down. Those dresses were a bitch. Let's just call a duck, but only because it just took so long. But I also found them very soothing because I just stitched. I really enjoyed them. This is on a piece that I had left over from where I'm stitching GGR's Red Deer, and my phone is flickering for some reason and I can't figure out why. Hopefully this is working. This is a piece of vintage cedar plank from Lakeside Linens that I had left over. I did use some threads that I chose. The blue dress is Gassed Midnight, the other dress is Gassed Mulberry, and then I altered the skin tones just a little bit so that I felt like everything flowed with the other colors that I had chosen. I need to frame this. I'm trying to get better about framing things. Right after I went back to work, which I've been back at work since May 1st, we went home on St. Patrick's Day, March 17th, and I worked from home until I went back May 1st, and I've been back ever since, and we are doing Zoom hearings and Zoom meetings and Microsoft Teams meetings and doing as little in person as we can. But I go into the office every day, and I framed a ton of cross stitch for my office, and I love it. So this is finished. Needs to be framed. Well, I'm just going to make a little FFO stack over there. This is not ready to be FFO'd, but I am about halfway done with it. I started this as a sal with Stitching May. More on her later. And we are both doing this with DMC thread 4135, which is just a fantastic variegated thread that goes from oranges and browns. And I am doing this on a piece of Weeks Dye Works Sanguine. And I think this is the newer Weeks Dye Works, because I'm not mad at it, so it must be. Maybe this will be a piece that will go to work so I can get this finished up. Although I keep saying that, and if I take this, this will be my third project at work. I do have time to stitch at work, like while I'm watching hearings, especially with them on Zoom, because most of the time I don't have my camera on, because I would just be someone in the gallery if I was live. So I don't have my camera on, and I'm sitting there and I'm observing the hearing and I'm listening and I'm taking notes. but I can stitch, which is pretty fantastic. Emily's living a pretty good introvert life at the moment. So that's in this bag. We'll put this down here in the whip stack in the floor. I finished this. Started and finished. Several people asked me about this linen. I have no idea where I got this linen. I think there was a woman who was dyeing pieces on like Stash Unloading or something once upon a time, and I bought a couple from her. This is a 32 count. This is Onward Noble Steed by Lindy Stitches. I chose my own threads. I finished him pretty quickly as an alligator, and am leaving him as an alligator because I love him. And I think he's pretty fantastic. I love the variegation of the thread that I used, and now I can't remember what thread I used because this was 2 months ago. I have to figure out how I'm going to finish this. This may get turned into a little pillow, so this is getting stuck over here on the Emily Needs to FFO It pile. Anybody else ever find random clumps of floss? I think this should be in my Ort jar, so we're just going to put this right here. It's just pillow bag. This is a bag that I got from Vintage Owl Lady. I know I've mentioned her plenty of times. I love her bags. She does not use a thicker batting, but she does absolute quality work. I mean, look at the inside of that bag. Cute little foxes in there. They're nice and roomy for my bigger projects. And she always puts on some type of cute little zipper pull. Currently, I have 2 projects in this one. This one right here is my damn bird, which is the Partridge sewing box inside the Blackbird Design Summer booklet. We all started this. All of us. I pulled some threads that I felt were very Emily. They are currently covered in Buster fur, which is the sign of well-loved threads. I mean, they're really bad. I mean, I feel like you can probably see it wafting through the air. I feel like this is Nicole petting her threads, but really this is, I'm grooming them. Okay, so if anybody's interested in the colors that I chose, I have some classic colorwork sticks and twigs, gassed espresso bean, gassed ginger snap. I used a lot of ginger snap, that's my main color. Gassed autumn leaves, Weeks Dye Works Oscar, and gas pumpkin patch. Not everything has been put in yet, but all of them I have, well, almost all of them I have used a little of. I love this little guy. I really would like to put him on the top of a little sewing box. I am stitching him on, I think this is Lakeside Vintage Sand Dune. I really like him. I hope that you can see him. I really like him a lot. So maybe I'll have to actually read the directions and figure out how to fix him on the top of the box. He's a cutie. Maybe we'll fold him the other direction. So that's going to go back in here with my other project that's in this bag, which needs to come back out soon because I started this for my sister on her birthday, which was July 18th. And it's the Little House Needleworks ABC sampler set. I have this entire set in here. And I started it on a piece of 36 count Picture This Plus ale. And I'm going to have some extra down here at the bottom. I am choosing my own colors. I bought the colors that are called for, a lot of them, and I might be using one here or there, but for the most part I am mixing it up. And I'm choosing things that I like and that things I feel like my sister might like. And I can actually put these in here now. I bought a couple extra of the color that I'm using for the border work. And this is Classic Colorworks Fresh Brew. My sister's favorite color is probably brown. If not brown, red. And that means I've got to throw some red in here. But we're both coffee people too. And this brown fresh brew, and it's got such a subtle but beautiful variegation. I really like this thread. So, there's 9 blocks in this. So I started in July, it's now August. If I start knocking out, because these don't take very long. I mean, it's a pretty small, petite little block. If I start knocking out a block a month, I could get this professionally framed by her next birthday. I need all of you to hold me to that. Because I'm the world's worst to have good intentions. Do you know how many pieces of fabric, and this is quilting fabric, or started whips that I have upstairs in my sewing room that I lovingly curated and picked out for people to make for them, and I just don't finish them. I don't see anybody else do that. Like, you have the best of intentions, but my follow through is very lacking. Not always though. I had lunch with Stitching May today. I actually took yesterday and today off work because it's August, and I've just resigned myself to the fact that I'm probably not going to take a real vacation this year. I don't want to get on an airplane. I really don't want to stay in hotels or go interact and go in museums or big cities. It's just not something I really want to do right now. So I took 2 mental health vacation days. And I sat on my butt and I stitched and I watched Flosstube and Nicole's Needlework, and Brenda and Laura kept me company all day yesterday. And it was pretty fantastic. Today, oh, and I made a gift for Megan. I actually made her a gift a couple of weeks ago, and I mailed it to her, and it's gotten lost in the mail. She lives 30 minutes from me. I could have driven it to her, and it's, who knows where it is. The tracking says it was delivered. USPS said they got confused or misunderstood, and they picked it back up as a pickup, which means there's only 2 addresses on there. It should come back to me, or it should be re-delivered to her. It has showed up neither place. I feel like this furrow is becoming a part of my 2020 look. It's not attractive. I need to work on that. So, I wrapped my head around the fact that that bag that I made her could be gone forever, lost. I didn't take a picture of it before I sent it, but I did take a picture of the one that I hand-delivered to her today as I met up with her, and we had lunch and masked up and went to Michael's afterwards. So I'll put in a picture of that here. She's already shared it on social media, so I'm not beating her to the punch or anything. I will not be selling bags like that because, number 1, that's kind of Christy's thing. And number 2, that's a lot of damn work. More power to you, Christy. Nesting seams is not my forte, nor do I love it. I love the quilting part after everything is patchwork together and I fuse it on. I like just doing the pretty over-the-top quilting. That's fun. The other part, not so much. But I love the look of it. Okay, so that's this. This goes in my whip stack. What is next? While we're talking about Megan, she has been quite the enabler for me, and vice versa. This is another vintage Owl Lady bag. This one is just funky and fabulous. And sometimes, as you can see by left is right and right is left, as you can see by this pillow behind me, sometimes I just like a little color in my life. Not a lot, but sometimes I do. So I grabbed this really funky bag and very appropriately started Pandemic and put it in here. I grabbed Pandemic while Pandemic was still free. If you would like Pandemic now, you need to pay for it, but you should because it's worth it and it's awesome. This is a gigantic piece of lakeside linen sand dune, and you can see when you hold it back, there's this ever so subtle modeling that just is what makes me swoon over lakeside linen. Come on, all together now. I mean, it's just, if I did this in front of normal people in my life, they would think I was nuts. But I can do this on here, and you guys get me. Just swoon and pet the linen. Swoon and pet the linen. So I am doing this on vintage sand dune. And you guys tell me what color this looks as you're seeing it here. It is a color and cotton color that I may end up having to get more of, but maybe not. But this is dark truffle. Is it brown? Is it dark purple? I see it as an extremely dark browny purple. And with my purple hair earlier in the year in the pandemic, purple just felt like the pandemic color. I went with the really dark one because it's beautiful. So there's that. That's started. Should put some more stitches in it. I also ordered a bag almost identical to this one and sent it and a housewarming basket to the crafty curator and her husband Joe. I was already getting her a bag, but they bought a house, so I had to send her a basket of goodies because I love my girl. So hopefully, Letitia, you've put something really wonderful in yours, and I think of you as well as Megan when I'm working on that. Guys, there's a lot. What next? Let's pull this one out. This is a So Much to Love bag that I have Emily's house in. Pulled out Emily's house and worked on it some. I think I pulled it out for some dark 13 stitching. I have this grandiose idea of finishing this. And when you see it, you'll be like, come on in. This grandiose idea of finishing this in my head. So as I was shopping with Megan today, and I needed a frame for something else I'll show you that I was getting, they had their frames buy one, get one free. So I bought a frame for this because I'm that close to finishing it. But I am closer. I got a lot of the house in. But before I put some of the house in, I ripped some of the house out this time. I had gotten started putting in the roof previously, and what is going on there? Oh, it's fine. And I wasn't happy with it. So begins Emily's fight with the color gray. I've had quite the fight with the color gray since you guys saw me last. More on that in a minute. But that's what I ended on. I think there is a gray from, why don't I just look in the bag and actually tell you what it is? Yes, part of it is Into a Dragon, which is Victorian motto. It's a decent gray. And then I forget what the other one is. There's a lot of grays in here. Grays that I've decided are acceptable grays. I find that grays that lean blue or purple, I don't feel like that's gray. That's blue or purple. I'm willing to accept a gray that leans green as gray, but most grays aren't true gray. I really struggle with that. It's very, very hard to find a thread that is a true gray. But anyway, yeah, I plan on finishing this like this week and getting it framed. Call that the COVID furrow. Back in the whip pile. Oh, there's a finish in here. I think I showed these charts. I bought several Santa charts because I wanted to really participate in Christmas in July. And one of them that I bought was this little guy, the Teresa Kogut. This is Primitive Santa. I loved and equally fought with this chart. It had an obscene, an obscene amount of fractional stitches, which I refuse to do. So where I fought with this is I squared everything off as I was stitching. Like in my head I was like, delete this stitch, move this one over. I really was on an ale kick. Emily's House is on ale. Little House ABC is on ale. I stitched this guy on ale. I was really feeling it. I also, as I finish this guy, and I'm not doing the border because I'm going to turn him into a larger ornament. So deleting the border will allow me to kind of finish him in an oval ornament, and he'll be big, but maybe not ridiculous. But the other thing that I fought with in this is the Valdani threads. I mean, we can all agree that variegation of that coat is where it's at. I mean, it's beautiful. Stitching with Valdani makes me say words that I shouldn't say in front of my mother or small children. Which is why my plans to stitch this guy, who has the same Valdani plus another skein of that mustard color, makes me want to grit my teeth a little. But I'm going to use it because it's beautiful, and the variegation you can't find in another thread. So I totally get why she uses it and she charts with it. Another one that's in here that I really want to start, that I ordered at the same time. Actually, there's two in here. There's this, which is little cute little ornament size. Oh, it got bent. Santa and Friends, little landscape, pictorial little things. This one's my favorite. I think Caroline from Off the Grid Needleworks is doing one of these, and I want to do at least 3 of them. I'm not sure I like the sled one as much, but I love the ones where he's smoking a pipe. Santa should always smoke pipes. This is Woodland Santos. This is a, this is definitely one of the reprints because look, it's like paper. It's not a big deal. I love these. On my to-do list, along with 5,000 other things. That's the other thing. All I've done this year is just start new things. I've finished more than I have in years past, but I've also started more than I have in years past. And I'm okay with it, because apparently that's a coping mechanism for me, is just collecting all the things and starting all the things, and it's fine. What's in here? We'll wait on that. That's plans. And we'll pull this out. So, Michelle, Cozy Egg, it is August. And her birthday is coming up later this week. So, happy birthday, Michelle. And she is doing a sale for her birthday where she is working on one of the Ufendale sisters, but she's encouraging people to stitch on a hats piece for the month of August and to use the hashtag Cozy Egg Hats B-Day Sal. Well, I worked on this one first, and I'm working on another one I'll show you in a second, and I'm hoping to round out the month with one more. Maybe come back to this one. I don't know. I'm doing whatever the hell I want to, because that's how I'm living my life nowadays. This is Miss Mary Ann Bourne, 1791, otherwise known as the Jungle Igloo Sal. Yeah, she's a pretty girl, isn't she? What makes her even prettier is this freaking gorgeous piece of color and cotton fabric that I'm stitching her on. It's very much a gray brown. This is color and cotton Havana, and that's showing up pretty true. I want to lick it. It's so beautiful. So I really had almost nothing done on this when I pulled it out this month. Really just a few stitches in this corner. And I got all this put in. I'm doing this in DMC. And the only color I'm changing is the blue. It calls for $9.39, which is a really, really deep, almost black navy. And I think I'm using one of the 920 somethings. Maybe 928, just to give it a little bit more vivid of a blue, which I felt tied in better with the other colors. So I worked on that, and now that I'm touching it again, I really want to work on it some more, because that's what happens when we do these videos. We fall back in love with pieces that we just put away. I'm also not doing a lot of the specialty stitches in this, not because I can't, but because I don't want to. So there's that. Jungle Igloo, Cozy Egg Hats B-Day Sale, in the whip pile. I started, and I have everything done that's been released so far, so I'm not going to show you the chart. I'm trying to keep up with the Barbara Anna Santos Trips Sale. This is the cutest little Christmas piece. If you're not doing it, you can download and subscribe to the sale for $9.99. I am not getting paid to do this, I promise. But it's $9.99 for the entire sale. And it's DMC, and it's so freaking cute. It's so small. I had a piece of vintage wood smoke in stash that I'm still going to have a little piece left of off the bottom, because I think this is an 13 by 17. Look how freaking cute. This wood smoke in person kind of has a, it's what I call a purple gray, but I don't mind it for this. It gives it kind of a wood smoke look to it. I mean, it is what it says it is. And to me, wood smoke and Christmas go hand in hand. Because I don't know about y'all, but here in Georgia and the Northern Hemisphere, I mean, it's cold at Christmas. It's cold in Georgia. You Canadians and Northerners are laughing at me. But it's cold here. And Jim and I love to have a fire going on Christmas Day. So, where did I pull this from? Oh, this doesn't have a bag. I am making a bag for it. I actually have the fabrics right here. More on that in a second. So you go there. Oh, I finished something else over here. I bought a frame to try to frame this today. I have been working on this off and on, and you're going to laugh when you see how tiny this piece is, for 2 years. Like, I would pull it out randomly on a dark 13, and I finally finished it, this last dark 13. This is Barbara Anna Black Cat Hollow. I did this on a piece of 32 count Murky. And for those of you not familiar with Murky, it's a Picture This Plus fabric. And with this dark dye like this, I feel like the 32 count shrinks up and is probably more like a 35 or something like that. So that's why I really don't mind it. I changed a lot of the colors in this. If I remember, I will put them down in the description box below. It's all DMC except for two. I know the two that I use that aren't DMC. The grass is Gassed Forest Glade. And anything that you see that is silver, like the water and the tombstones and the pathways, those are all Gassed Barn Gray, which is one of the grays that I actually like, one of the very few. So I got a 12 by 12 plain black frame, because even though this doesn't look square, it looks rectangular, it's fairly square. So I'm going to put it in there. Maybe I'll get that framed up tomorrow. I love this, and I'm really excited about the idea of being able to display it this Halloween. So this goes in the FFO stack, which is growing. That leaves this. So this is the Sal that I started with Christy at Crosshatch Quilts and Laura, the serial starter, and Nicole from Nicole's Needlework, and a few other people joined in, like Flame Fingers and a few other people on IG. I've really enjoyed this Sal. Like, sometimes I start Sals and I'm like, I've really enjoyed this one. But I also really love this piece. We're calling this the Social Distancing Sheep Sal. This is Jane Tindall, 1864. This is a needlework press. But I mean, look at these sheep. They're just like perfectly queued up and spaced out. Felt appropriate. So I got started on this. I had a gigantic piece of Picture This Plus Legacy. What does this call for? I think it calls for Confederate Gray. I don't know. So, I took the border all the way around. It matched up. And then I started pulling into Nicole and started stitching at the bottom. I did put in a little bit of this alphabet at the top, but I think I'm going to rip that out, and I think I'm going to darken it. As I'm doing mine in the called for DMC, because I'm fine to match up with the silk swell. So even though I'm doing this with the called for DMC, I'm switching some up. So that's probably going to go to more like a 610 or a 611 to be more of a darker muddy brown, like I feel like the silk is. But this is the called for greens, because the greens seem kind of true. And I know Laura's already shown this on her video, but this is the red that is called for. And while yeah, that may be it. So Laura, as I'm stitching on my Santa's trips, it calls for DMC 304. And I pulled DMC 304 out of my stash, but I noticed when I pulled it for Santa's trips that it was a really, really old one that I had, like on a cardboard bobbin with, like, I don't even know whose handwriting that is. Maybe me as a kid. So it tells you I haven't used this color a lot, as it has Buster here on it. And that has Buster here on it. This is how few colors are in Santa's Trips, by the way, so I just keep them like this. So I was thinking as I was stitching with this red that it felt different than this red. And maybe to the camera it's not as noticeable, but to me it is. This is more pinky red, and this is more true red. So perhaps the dye has changed enough between the time that this was charted and now to where it was more this red. That's pretty different to me. So I'm still not using one that's exactly like this 304. But for anybody else that's using this, note that difference. But I think I'm going to use Ruby Slipper. Part of the reason that I'm using Ruby Slipper is because the other gradient colors that kind of pull like or down from the red are these sand colors from DMC. And if you'll notice on Ruby Slipper, and there are different dye lots of Ruby Slipper, but if you'll notice that lighter color that's running through there is almost a true match to 3772. So I feel like it pulls these together more. And I don't know, maybe I'm talking out of my ass. That is also a distinct possibility. So I'm really going to be finessing and playing with these colors as I go. Another reason is it also calls for one of the initial bands, DMC 648. That's too light. This is entirely too light. So I think I bought a ton of what I thought were grays. I know I'm doing this a lot, but it's appropriate grays from 123 Stitch. I got a bunch of blue and purple is what I got. I didn't get gray, but Barn Gray I think is what's going to be the step up true gray from 648. I don't know, that's what I think. So there's also, for the words on this, it calls for DMC 926, which it says is a green gray, but to me, this 926 range is blue. Or maybe it's a blue gray, but this is blue. Maybe I see colors differently than other people. I don't know. So I'm thinking I have another Victorian motto that's a little bit more gray than blue that I'm going to use for all the words. And this is Forever Bewitched. I don't know. I'm playing with the colors as I go, figuring it out, and I'm having fun doing it. I'm saying a few curse words, but they shall not be in vain. And this is going to turn out to be a sampler that I think that I'm really proud of once it's done. I'm also changing the verse because the verse that's on here is quite religious, and that's just not my jam. So I have one picked out that I don't have right in front of me that is like, drink the drink, eat the fruit, do your own thing, live each day, something, something, something. I'll put it down below, or here. So there's that. I want to get back to this as soon as possible, and I have this in my beautiful Christy bag. If you are interested in a bag from her, she is Crosshatch Quilts on Instagram, and these are worth every penny she charges for them because they are well made and they're a pain to make. So if she tells you how much they are and you go, oh, get over yourself, they're worth it. This is beautiful, beautiful work. I mean, this girl matches up corners like a pro. Really, this is one of my favorite bags now, and it's going to make me pull this piece out and give it love more than I normally would. Oh, this should go back in there. And we're still going because there's still stuff to show. I shouldn't go 2 months in between filming ever. What's next? So I started yesterday another Hands Across the Sea piece for the Cozy Egg Hats B-Day sale. This is Jane Hearth. This is a downloadable piece. This is one of the Hands Across the Sea little gems. And what really spoke to me on this one is I'm a sucker for a giant house, number one. Number two, I'm a sucker for birds and butterflies. And number three, these colors that this little girl chose are, as Nicola puts in her description in History of the Sampler, worthy of adorning a Jimi Hendrix album cover. And they are. They're just so swirly and psychedelic. These are the colors. Yeah. So I pained myself and really was trying to figure out what this little girl would have stitched this on if she had had access to the stuff today, what it might have looked like, what would play off of it but not overpower. And I pulled this piece of Under the Sea Beach Walk. This is what Beach Walk looks like as I turn it upside down. This is an absolutely stunning fabric. As I pulled it and started stitching and looking at it, I realized that this isn't 36 count as I have become so enamored with. This is 32. It feels different. My stitches feel huge. Those of you who have moved from one count to a smaller count, you know that when you go back again, sometimes your stitches can feel a little clunky. And they're not. Like, it's absolutely beautiful and it's completely in my head. But I restarted it because I knew, and I wasn't completely happy with the color either. So I restarted it. I put in one strand of thread this morning, so this is what I'm going to be working on once I'm done with you guys. And this is just so much more me. It's going to be on this piece of Picture This Plus Gingerbread, which is a 36 count. I had this in stash. This is one Jim randomly went on 1-2-3 Stitch and picked out a bunch of threads for Christmas, fabrics for Christmas that he liked, that he thought I might not have, and gingerbread was one, and I didn't have any of it. And it just feels right. So with 36 count, I was able to take a little over half of a fat quarter and do the sampler on that half with a 2-inch margin. And I'm comfortable with that, but that's why I'm like, the corner would be way up in here and I'm barely hanging on to this NICU snap. But I don't know, I see old finished pieces that I have now, and I see how wasteful I have been of fabric, giving way too much margin or putting it in the center of the piece, and there's no need for that. Fabric is precious, and I should really be more mindful and cognizant of where I start and how I place things so that I can really squeak out every last inch of fabricy goodness. So I have another piece laying around here somewhere of gingerbread now that I can stitch something on. But I'm getting back to this as soon as we're done filming. But that leaves this. This leaves this fat quarter that I have started on. So if you are interested in stitching Jane Hearth on this piece of 32 count Beach Walk, comment down below something with the word Beach Walk in it. Tell me about how much you love Beach Walk fabric, about how Beach Walk is perfect. All one word, Beach Walk, because that's the way they do it. Beach Walk. And I'll give this to somebody because I'm not going to stitch this on this, and I don't know that I will stitch on this 32 count. So I want it to go to someone who will love it. If you want to stitch something else on it, you can pick this out. It comes with Emily stitching. If you want to stitch this on it, you can download this chart from Hands Across the Sea for, I think this is like $10. And you can get a few skeins of DMC, and you can probably start stitching this for 15 to 20 bucks. Because I'm giving you the fabric. Comment Beach Walk down below. Don't say giveaway. Be an adult. I'm willing to ship outside of the country, but with COVID right now, we'll see if you ever get it. We also will see if you ever get it if you're within the country, so it is what it is. But I'm not talking trash on the USPS. They're doing the best that they can. Buy stamps. Support the USPS. They're doing the best they can. What else have we got? I have this that my good friend Heather made for me and Cassie and Kelly. And it's funny because this is the same kind of thing that we have our name badges at work. They're the same like little magnet thing, but this is the needle minder. So just wear it like this for the rest of the video. I have also gotten, I've gotten some love from stitchers the past few months. I've gotten some people send me some antique photos. This wonderful woman sent me an essential oil guide, which is actually over there on the desk where I've been pouring through it. This wonderful woman sent me this and one for Megan, which is this beautiful little stitched ornament. This is over in my dough bowl. I'm losing my voice because Emily never talks this much. Sorry. This is actually in my dough bowl over there. I gave Megan hers today. I totally forgot it the last time that I went to go visit with her, but she was super excited and she said to tell you thank you. What's in here? Oh, this is something, okay, we'll go into things that I'm planning to start now because I'm not done starting things. I'm going to keep starting things, who knows, at least for the rest of the year, maybe into next year. But Socks for Mom and Hollis Hands Creates is doing, I think they both have October birthdays, and they are starting at First Cock's Crow, which is in this Blackbird Design Sisters book. It's this sampler down at the bottom. I was already planning on starting this for Dark October. This was actually the only start that I had 100% planned. Like, I was starting this. Like, threads pulled in it. So, I was like, yes, super excited. So, they are doing a stitch along, and I'm totally jumping on that bandwagon, because like I said, itchy nose, I was planning on starting it anyway. I love this chart. Love it. Diana, It Is Kismet Stitches, actually pulled this little motif for a small that she made me previously that's in my dough bowl. So I'm excited to maybe stitch this and maybe hang it near it. I'm not sure what fabric I'm going to use yet. Maybe a brown gray or Confederate gray. That's still up in the air. And I still have, I ordered from Kitten Stitcher a lot of fabric, and I went on there for one piece, and then I was scrolling through, and she had a ton of fabric listed from XG Designs, the Hungarian dyer, and I've never gotten, I have one piece of her fabric that somebody gave me, let me correct that, but I haven't ever bought any, and I really wanted to get some like various colors. I may have gone a little crazy. So there's that. And I ordered the, like, I think I needed like 3 colors for this. So I got that from her as well. This is the bag that Black Cat Hollow was in, so I think that it's very appropriate for First Cock's Crow to go into. Put that there. One of our floss tubing duos, Stitching Social, had recently shown this. I have wanted this for a long time. I've put it in carts, I've taken it out of carts, I've put it in and taken it out, and finally just said, you know what, I'm getting that. When and if you decide to start this, let me know. Because I even already pulled Gas Tomato, because that feels like the right color for that flower. This is on my to start list. A Deer Stitcher sent me this chart. This was one that was compliments of Kitten Stitcher. She said it wasn't anything she was going to stitch, but she knew that I would love it, and she's absolutely right because I love it. And this is going in my to be stitched stack. I got this in the mail yesterday. I had joined the Fabric of the Month from Nancy Turner. I just lowered my subscription from a fat half to a fat quarter because I'm trying to do more smaller pieces. Knock on wood. This is the color that I received. I must be at the beginning of a cycle and Brenda and Laura are at the end of a cycle, because I swear what they just received is maybe what I got last month. I don't know. I'm very confused. But I got 36 count shadows. So it's kind of a really, really pale gray brown. It reminds me of Picture This Plus Shale, but maybe lighter and less purple. I really like it. I really like this, and I'm going to put it in my stash, and something will be perfect on this. Maybe when I finally take the plunge and stitch Witch's Hollow, maybe that would be really nice on this. Witch's Hollow on shadows. This is going to go on this piece of linen. I have been biting the bullet, not buying this chart, and I finally, when I ordered my last stuff from 123 Stitch, you know, I needed a few threads. They couldn't travel alone, so they came with Ann Roberts. With all of the hats pieces that have been being shown and people have been working on this year, and especially during Michelle's birthday, this is really pretty, and it's on the smaller side for hat samplers. You can fit this on a fat quarter, while a lot of those you need, if you stitch on 36 like me, you need a fat half. So I have a fat quarter of vintage exemplar. This is a really pretty fabric. So I'm going to put Ann Roberts on this. And this may get started before August is over with. And then September, I'm going to be jumping headfirst into Sampler September. So even if this doesn't get started until then, that's fine. And if it scooches over into Sampler September, that's fine. With that said, I'm not going to film again before September actually gets here. So what whips of mine, what sampler whips of mine would you like to see more progress on, or would you like to see me pull out and work on or start for Sampler September? Comment down below. I'm really interested in knowing what you guys have to say, because I have a lot, and I'm kind of like, I want that one, no, I want this one, and I want to work more than just a day on each piece. Hey, buddy. You want to come say hello? Yeah, come here. Yeah, attaboy. And I want to spend more than just a day on each piece. So there's that. I still have a couple of things to show. I know I'm encroaching on an hour, but guys, this is what happens when you go a really long time. I'm pulling this back out with Kelly, and we're working on this month. This is the Witches of Salem chart by the Primitive Hair. And I guess I could stitch something over on this side, but I started in the corner and I don't know. So this is a fat quarter of Sagebrush by Under the Sea Fabrics. I don't know if words can describe how beautiful this color is. Whenever I pull this out, it's like I forget how beautiful it is until I see it again. And then I just fall completely in love with it. So I'm using my own threads. Buster, I thought he was getting sick this past weekend. He was sneezing like crazy, and he kept getting up in Jim's lap and like getting right up in his face, sneezing, and like Jim would just be covered in cat snot and totally grossed out, and it was the best thing ever. It's pretty great. Yeah, it's like you were doing that on purpose. Yeah, did you do that on purpose? So I'm pulling my own threads for this. I need to put them on a thread ring. I started this before I was doing thread rings, so there's just this big wad in here. These beautiful colors. Ugh. Okay, I'm so excited to get back to this. If not, I think she wants to start back on this tomorrow. Kelly, if you watch this, let a girl know. When are we pulling this back out? I might want to put another day on Jane Hearth. We'll see. A lovely stitcher sent me a box of charts, and I've been sharing the love from that box, and I kept just a couple, and then there was a couple where I was like, I just bought that. Like this one. So I had had this on an eBay search for like a year, and I want to say it came up in March, and I bought it. So Exemplars from the Heart, When the Calling Birds Sing. It's a really big piece. It's like, this piece of 36 count measures in at 21 by 26. It was an odd cut that I had bought, and it's like the perfect size. So it's a little bit bigger than a fat half. Or a fat quarter, I'm sorry. It's just a purring. Hope y'all can hear that. So it's just a little bit bigger than a fat quarter. But I gave the other one to Megan. And she told Ellen, Cross Stitch Power Hour, about it. And now we're doing a sale. I don't know when we're starting. Ellen, you tell me when we're ready to go. I'm going to do mine on this piece of Silkweaver maple syrup, mainly because it's the perfect size. And it's just a good neutral. But there's a lot of full coverage stitching on this, so the color matters, but not as much as on some pieces. I plan on changing all the colors. This is charted for HDF, I believe. Yes, it's charted for HDF, which means I have none of those colors. Sorry. Hold, please. Does anybody else's cat do this? If there was condensation, he would be much more into it. We share. It's also charted for the DMC. I will probably do a lot of DMC, but probably also just some other threads, and figure it out as I go. I'm more than okay with figuring this out as I go, and just trying to pick colors that I feel like I have enough of, or can get an equivalent dye lot pretty easily. And we're going to figure it out as we go. So that's getting started. This is a whip, separating everything. Oh, the last time I met up with Megan, which me and Jim and her husband and son went out to eat about a month ago, like right as things were like getting back out there here in Georgia. And she gave me a goodie bag full of things as well. So that's just kind of what we do. And I've kept it in this bag so that I could show you. This is, she ended up with 2 of this magazine. And she gave me one of them. And this was just a small, cute little samplery thing. It says this is from Cross Stitch and Country Crafts, September, October 1990. And it's just a cute little tiny sampler. And one that I could make super dark and creepy, and she could make super happy, and we could still be stitching the same thing. So that's the plan. We will stitch this at some point. And I was thinking, Megan, you also, where I had given you a piece of legacy, you replaced my piece of legacy, which you did not have to do, because I think you had given me a piece of legacy first. It's just like the eternal legacy handoff between the two of us. I think that could work. A fat 1/8. I haven't done the math, but it totally looks like small enough. So, that. She gave me this cool book, Samplers and Tapestry Embroideries by Marcus Hush. 101 illustrations and in color. And that's what I'm most excited about, honestly, is there's just all the pictures. So now that I've shown this, this is actually going to go up on my nightstand. And this is going to be like the nighttime reading that I annoy Jim with, as he's trying to watch Rick and Morty or Bob's Burgers as we go to bed at night and be on his phone. And I'm like, Jim, look at this sampler. Jim, look how cool this is. Jim. And that's just how that's going to go. And then this girl, she handed me this wad of threads on a ring, and she was like, all these colors just made me think of you. It's all these greens and moody colors and purples, and she was like, they just all made me think of you, so it felt like they needed to come live with you. I've really tossed around. I decided that I wanted to stitch a piece with these, and like the piece be the colors that she had chosen that were Emily colors. And I think I've settled on one, and I think it's going to be Ink Circles Garden Stars. Because I don't know if you guys know this, but this tattoo is actually, well, this obviously is just a poppy and some lavender, but this motif is actually a kind of a loose translation from one of the motifs on Garden Stars. I gave that chart to my tattoo artist and told him that I loved all of the motifs in there, that whichever one he felt lent itself better to a design to pull it. So it's about time that I stitched Garden Stars. And if you've never seen it, I'll pop a picture in here, and if I forget to, please forgive me and Google Ink Circles Garden Stars. That's it, guys. I am going to make myself a couple of patchwork bags like I made Megan. Hopefully her other one will show up and she'll have 2. I am using this fabric, which is Moda Naughty and Nice, and I pulled out the ones that I really hated, which are the ones with the words and the ones with the little cutesy elves playing drums, and I don't want that in my life. And I'm going to make a bag for my Barbara Anna and future Christmas ones out of the remaining fabrics, which are really pretty. I also have one that I've already pieced together that I've just got to turn into a bag, and that's the Moda Meraki, and I'm going to put this in it because this piece is just begging for a brightly colored patchwork bag. But anyway, that is it. Buster and I are going to do some mild editing on this and scratch our nose some more and stitch and maybe pretend to make dinner for the husband, but in reality just pop in a frozen casserole. But remember, if you're interested in stitching something or Jane Hearth on Beach Walk, comment down below. Don't say giveaway. And I will see you guys sooner than 2 months from now. Peace out.